Kenneth Crider.
Yes.
If you want to come up here, Mr. Crider, and have a seat, we'd be glad to hear what you have to say. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Kenneth Crider. I live at 16381 Fairway in Livonia, Michigan. I've lived in Livonia my whole life. I was for the bond issue in the beginning. Because I work in the construction industry. I work for a local heating and air conditioning company right here in Livonia, and I understand that this bond issue will be preferential bidding, and the company that I work for will probably be a good candidate to get some work out of this. But recently I've been receiving some information from an organization called Priorities in Education Spending, and I understand that the City of Livonia schools have a $90 million outstanding bond debt right now. And this new $195 million bond that we're asking for, with its $175 million in interest that will be paid on that bond, will put the Livonia Public Schools at a $500 million in debt. I'm wondering if that's correct. I'd like to know what happens with the projected $150 to $200 raise in people's taxes if we don't get the raise in home values over the 30-year period. It's projected to go from $4 billion to $8 billion. What happens if we stay flat? What happens if we only go up a half of that? Is that a $150 to $200 kind of raise to cover that? The City of Livonia right now is attractive to build a business in and come to and do business because the economy is starting to turn around a little bit and people are starting to think about starting businesses. And I've heard talk about the fact that the City of Livonia has only a lower millage than the rest of the communities surrounding us, and that by raising this only brings us up to par with them. I don't want to be par with the communities around me. I want companies to look at Livonia and come to Livonia because we have a low tax base. If you raise our taxes to be equal with everybody else, why not go anywhere else with your business? People, you're saying this is to draw people into the community. People are going to live close to their businesses. Gas prices being as high as they are, nobody wants to drive far to go to work. If you can get companies to come to Livonia because of our low taxes, people are going to move to Livonia to be close to their companies. So raising our millage and pushing companies and business away from Livonia is not the way to draw families in this community. I was thinking the other day, in the city, when you're thinking of, if every one of us could think back and think of who was our superintendent in our high school, who was our superintendent when we were in school, I don't think any one of us could name who our superintendent was. But I think that every one of us here could name who our bus driver was. I know that my bus driver at Clarenceville High School was Miss Snyder. We called her Ma. I had her forever. I think that the school right now is concentrating too much on the new buses, new infrastructure, new auditoriums, and they're not thinking about how do I want to say this? If I'm a person coming to the City of Livonia, I'll start over, and I want to find a house, I want to buy a house, I'm looking at the surrounding communities, I'm going to look at how close is the elementary school to my house, how close is the middle school, how close is the high school. I'm going to buy a house, try to find one close to that central location there. But we are taking the bus system and we are consolidating our routes to such a degree that if you are also looking at how far I have to drive my kid to get to the bus stop. The other day, I went to Mayfield Street, and I had to drive down Mayfield Street. There was 20 cars parked down Mayfield Street. All the cars were idling. There was one parent in every single car with one kid, waiting for the buses to come. So we want to build this great auditorium and these great schools, and we're taking away from our busing. We're taking away from our bus drivers. I'm not here to represent the bus drivers at all, but I just think that we're neglecting the bottom, and we're trying to put a show on. And I don't think that the window dressing and building these auditoriums and getting brand-new instruments and all that is the proper thing to do right now in this economy. So I was just curious. I've heard it put different ways. Are you planning on building a larger auditorium in each school, or are you planning on building one large auditorium so that all the schools can use? If you build the one large auditorium that all the schools can use, are you planning on that being where the kids could graduate from high school and all the relatives could come to watch graduation? If that's the case, do you plan on building something as big as CompuWare? Because I've been to 5 graduations in the last 6 years, and CompuWare is full. If you're not going to build something as large as CompuWare, how many less people, how many less family members are going to be allowed to see their kids graduate compared to now with as big of a facility as CompuWare is? And in closing, I'd just like to say I'm not for this right now, and unless I hear something otherwise to change my mind.